So I wanted to do a spot on collar review. I'm sorry if you hear my birds. I have a 110-pound German Shepherd, and I live in an area where I have neighbors, not stacked on top of each other, but close enough. And one of my neighbors particularly has chickens. Now, my dog is not the kind of dog to eat chickens or kill chickens. He's probably more afraid of them than anything. But he has been accused of it. So, um, having a way to keep him on the property was super important. Um, he started off with another collar system. It was just an invisible fence set up from PetSafe, um, which worked for a while. He responded to it really well, and I didn't have any issues with it, except that with the way my property was set up, I was only able to give him a really, really small section of the yard. Um, when you have a German Shepherd, they need to be able to explore and run around and do what they're going to do. So I knew that I needed to get him something else. So I looked through a gazillion different reviews of Spot On versus Halo collar, and a couple different GPS collars, and really liked the reviews that I saw for the Spot On collar. So I went ahead and paid for it. I know a lot of people's biggest complaint is the price behind this collar, and I think that it's kind of important to talk about that because not everybody can afford buying their dog a cell phone. It's not necessarily in the budget for most people. But I think it's important to note that Spot On so far has got some of the better responses as far as it's not correcting dogs in the wrong areas, it's not correcting dogs for the wrong reasons. The satellite drift is a lot better with this color because of how many satellites that it does connect to. There's just a lot better quality connection with this collar than with things like the Halo collar and some of the other GPS collars out there. And so I think that was really, really important to at least bring up, because for the price you are getting more of a guarantee that your dog is not going to get corrected at the wrong time or in the wrong place. Now my Shepherd is really, really sensitive, and when he hears the warning tones on his collar, that's all it takes. And he also loses trust really easy when it comes to his collars. And so making sure that he wasn't going to get corrected in the wrong place was really important for him. He's still learning that he has a bigger yard, and he's still learning that he can kind of go behind areas and in areas that he wasn't able to go to before. So he still kind of keeps himself isolated, but I think it's a work in progress. He's starting to catch on that he can go a little farther out. Training him on this collar was super easy, but like I said, my dog was already trained on another type of fenced collar, so that part was not hard at all. He understands the tones, and he doesn't even have to get to the warning tone. It's the initial tone that as soon as he hears that, he backs off. So that part was really, really easy for me. I do like that this collar is fully controlled by an app. I never had the original Spot On collar, but the fact that I can go into the app and I can adjust the fencing, or I can set up as many fences really as I need to, and then I can control everything from there, as well as keep an eye on him when I'm at work, because I work for 8 to 10 hours a day most of the time, and I can just kind of check on him and make sure he's doing okay. I really like those features. The app is really simple to use. It's very clear. You can see a really clear image of your property and everything that you are wanting to fence off. They did also just do an update where you can set up safe zones. And that was really important because this color uses something called forest mode. Um, so if you're in an area that has a lot of tree coverage, it's going to make sure that your dog doesn't get corrected because it's lost satellite connection, or that satellite connection is weak. Forest mode kind of protects that from happening. But with forest mode, you had to be really careful with your dog wearing the collar inside of the house because there was a chance that the dog would get a correction for being in the house. And I wanted to make sure that wasn't going to happen to him, so I was very careful about taking the collar off every time he went inside. But now they have a new update where you can set up safe zones and no-go zones. So I have my house as a safe zone. It's within his perimeter, and the house itself is a safe zone. So if he's within that perimeter, there will be no corrections, which was really important. Like I said, he loses trust really easily when he knows that he's going to be corrected by his collar. Now, I have to use static mode with my dog. I learned that very early on with his other collar setup, and I get that there's a lot of different opinions about that, but with my dog it was really important. But like I said, because of that static mode, he doesn't challenge the collar. I don't have to worry about him trying to figure out if he's going to get bit by his collar or not. And in the house, I don't have to worry about that at all now. So I really like that safe zone setup. I don't need to use the no-go zone. It's not necessary for the way I have his fence set up, but if I ever needed to, it's nice to have. He has fences set up in a couple different places. One is here at the house. I have one set up at a friend's house where he goes a couple times a week. And then I have one set up at work because there's times that he goes to work with me. And all I have to do is disconnect his collar from one fence and connect it to the next fence when I get there. And I don't have to remove the collar from him. I don't have to do any presets. I just got to deactivate one fence and activate another fence. So that part works out really, really well. The battery life on these, I really wish was a little bit better. Mostly because I tend to be forgetful, so there's times that I'll forget to charge the collar overnight, or whatever, and so I have to worry about, am I going to take him to work with me for the day because the collar is not charged, or luckily if I wake up early enough for work, usually I can get a really good charge on it before I leave. I do get a full, at minimum, like 12 hours out of a charge. It might be more than that, but I think typically I get 12 to 14 hours out of a charge. A lot of that is because I'm constantly checking on him while I'm at work, so I'm tracking him, which takes battery. I know he'd get more battery out of it if I wasn't tracking him, but me being the worried dog owner I am, I'm always tracking him. Like I said, he's been accused of eating chickens, and he's been accused of being a vicious dog, which cracks me up because he's the biggest pansy in the world. So I have to keep him on my property. It's super important. Not only that, but I don't live alone, and the other people that I live with are not responsible for my dog, and I can't expect them to take responsibility for him. So I have to ensure that he's going to stay home, be safe, and that there's nothing that I need to worry about since I work 30 minutes away. So I do like that I have that feature that I can keep an eye on him. So I do use the cellular service. I don't know that I'll use it forever, but for right now, it's really nice. And it just kind of gives me peace of mind that I can check on my dog, make sure he's still within his perimeter. I will get notifications if he does go outside of his perimeter, but typically, like I said, all he has to do is hear that first tone and he is right back where he needs to be. I really wish that they would do something about this right here. whatever this is printed with seems to want to come off pretty easily, and that's where your serial number and all your information is for the color. So if you ever need to get a hold of the company or need to have something done with your warranty or whatever, that serial number might be rubbed off, especially if you have a dog that likes water, sorry, and you have a pond or access to the water on your property. That seems like it comes off really easily. Now I currently have the prongs on his color. There's two different size prongs that you can use. Because he's a long hair, he's got to have the bigger ones. And eventually I will take these prongs out when I don't have to stress so much. So eventually he won't have those, but they are really nice prongs. I just shave a spot on his neck and make sure that when I put the collar on him that the prongs are right where they need to be. The collar sits really nicely. All the weight is to the bottom, so you can make sure that your satellite sensor is to the top and it doesn't tend to spin around. I really like that about it. I've thought about making like a sleeve for this to protect it, but it's supposed to be waterproof. It's supposed to be protected from the elements. Obviously, he's a dog. He doesn't care about the elements. He's not going to care if he rolls in the mud or if he's out in the rain. It's not going to make a difference to him, but it makes a difference if it affects the collar. So far, I haven't had those issues. Now, I've had this collar for almost 2 months now. And like I said, I've not had any issues. A couple months from now or a year from now, that might change. But for right now, it's been a good collar. We'll see what happens later on. I know a lot of people's reviews are kind of circumstantial. I've seen reviews from people that are in Canada, or just people in general that have had some issues with the collar. Those circumstances that they've been in are not circumstances that I will have, so I don't have to worry about them. For instance, I know Canada has got some tracking issues and things like that, so if for whatever reason the collar does fall off of him, which isn't likely because it's a pretty good buckle, or somehow the band breaks or whatever, they might have an issue tracking it down. Or if the dog does leave their property, they may have an issue tracking down their dog. I don't have those problems, which is really nice. The other really nice thing is when I make fences and I need to load them to the collar, they load pretty quickly, and making any adjustments that I need to make are really, really easy. That all really goes back to the app being a really nicely made app and everything on it working pretty well. Every once in a while, I have to work a little extra hard to get Bluetooth connection with the collar, but that's not typical. Usually it works pretty easily. Charging time on this is about an hour. So I try really hard not to leave it on the charger. I could probably be better about waking up earlier in the morning to give it a good charge, but I'm not. But I'll put it on the charger at night when my dog is eating dinner and then take it off the charger, and he really doesn't need it for the rest of the night, because even when I let him out to go to the bathroom, he goes right here and he comes right back in, so I don't have to stress about that. But I worry about messing up the battery from leaving it on the charger for too long. The other aspect is the charger. I really like that it's a seated charger. To have a charging port that could get clogged up from mud or hair or whatever, I could see that being a pretty serious issue. So I do like that it's a seated charger. It's still a USB-C charger setup, so if the cord breaks or anything like that, it's very easily replaceable. I don't have to worry about that. I haven't had to do too much as far as contacting the company for things, but the one time that I did, it was really easy. I texted through the app. I let them know what my problem was. They connected to the collar and let me know that it wasn't a problem, and everything came up exactly the way it needed to be. Basically what happened is I had downloaded the update and the collar itself was not connecting to any satellites after that update. It took probably about 30 minutes for it to pick up on the satellites. And after I contacted them and they connected to my collar, immediately I started getting connection to satellites. On the app itself, you can see how many satellites the color is connected to, and the more, the better. The more satellites he's connected to, the less likely you're going to have bad satellite drift, or him just generally being corrected for no reason. Um, you know, I don't want to have those problems, especially when I'm gone for 8 to 10 hours out of the day. But my 2-month review really is just that this has been a great collar for its price. I've ran into very minimal issues with it, and I think it was worth being able to allow my dog to have far more freedom without putting him in danger of, you know, being accused or my neighbors feeling uncomfortable because my German Shepherd is outside. I know German Shepherds can be intimidating dogs, and I don't want people to be uncomfortable that he's around. So being able to control that and maintain that is very important for me and for him to be able to just be a dog. Um, there is one thing that I kind of did to this collar when I first got it. He had a bark collar for a little while because I needed to tone down his barking. That was an obnoxious thing that he was doing, and I was getting complaints. Understandably, I was not upset about these complaints at all. It made sense. So I took that shock collar, I took the sensor, and I strapped it to this part of the collar. And I really only had to do that for about a week, and his barking has settled down tremendously. I still have the piece if I need to put it back on here, but I don't think I will need to, because he's kind of gotten the picture as far as the barking goes. But that ended up working out really great, and I didn't have to have a bunch of colors on my dog. So anyway, I hope this review helps you out.